12 many tomorrows. Every day, we grew better at hunting. We worked as a team, learning each other's strength and how we all fit together. Noisy was very smart, and by now I figured he probably used to be a guide dog. Perhaps saving me with the bunch by the river had been part of his training. He was always good with directions and tracking with smell. When we were hunting, we would move about the forest in every direction, but once we were done, Noisy always knew the fastest way back to the cars. Tiny, with his huge ears, would hear from miles. He would squeeze into the smallest spaces, unheard and unseen, and sometimes he would leap out of hiding to surprise me or the other dogs. From the look of his face, he seemed to think this was very funny. He was also fearless. Although this sometimes got him into trouble, as I learned on the first day of hunting. Zip's talent was still speed, and even though he had trouble eyesight, his greyhound hunting instinct meant he could always sense if there was dinner hiding nearby. He was always pretty much inseparable from Noisy, and when Zip wasn't shooting off like a grey comet through the forest, bouncing off shrubs and smacking into rocks, the two were never far apart. Bruce still came and went as he pleased, but we let him tag along as long as he behaved himself. Once or twice, I had to step in and stop a fight from happening. It was a pretty scary thing to stare down a growling mastiff, but with the rest of the pack at my side, Bruce seemed to get the message fairly quickly. Once he realized it wasn't okay to snap and snarl at your pack, the incidents became fewer. Besides, he was a good hunter when he worked with us. He was strong, and his powerful bark would send creatures scattering out of the undergrowth. And then there was Puppy, who just grew and grew, bigger, stronger, faster, smarter. From out of the back mask of markings, her eyes shone with intelligence, and every day she would amaze me with something new, something she'd learned from the other dogs. From Bruce, she learned to sense where game was painful. From Tiny, she learned to creep up slightly on her prey. And proudly, thanks to Zip, even her speed improved, allowing her to leap and twist in the air with stunning agility. On hunts, more often than not, Puppy also became the dog who leaded the killing blow. She didn't curve the attention of the other dogs, though she was her own self. Still, she was close to me and would curl up in my lap or snug next to me in her sleep. Somehow, I felt like we understood each other. As for me, I kept telling myself my only task in the group was to feed us for another day. After all, tomorrow, someone will probably rescue us, right? But tomorrow came and tomorrow went, and no one turned up. We were on our own. All we could do was keep surviving. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. I marked the days on the car door with a knife. It didn't take long to run out of the packaged food, and soon we were living entirely on what we could catch. Still, each hunt I got better with the sling, and soon I was able to send rocks whizzing through the air with deadly accuracy. I soon learned that the trick to hitting a lizard or rat isn't about aiming where it is about aiming where it's going to be. I always kept my eye out for well-shaped, well-weighted rocks and was continuously refilling my pockets. Before we knew it, the season began to change too, and with some worry I could feel that winter was setting in. With Nosey's help, I taught the dogs to range wide for firewood until we had a pretty good stack, and they loved nothing better than stretching out next to the fire after dinner. In the cold months, we moved during the day to keep warm. Then at bedtime, we slept curled up together in the car. Thankful the car provided me with a good supply of clean clothes and several sleeping bags and blankets that kept us warm through many a chilly night. Fortunately, it was too long before it was getting warm again. There were lots of books around too. I collected white heaps from abandoned suitcases and lined them up in the open boot of one of the nearby cars. Kids' books, storybooks, about everything you could think of. When the dogs would lie around in the heat of the midday sun, I'd sit under a tree and read. It kept me from being lonely. Sometimes I'd even read aloud. The dogs seemed to enjoy it. Either that or they just liked hearing the sound of my voice as they drifted off to their daily nap. Even with the dogs as company, I miss my family. I miss my friends. I even miss school. The books help me to stay human and feel connected to other people. Plus, over time, they also taught me a lot of useful things. A book about cavemen taught me how to make a fire without matches using sticks. A book about forest food helped me learn which berries I could eat and which were poisonous. And finally, there was a book about animals and their feeding habits that helped me become a better hunter. Turns out, once you learn an animal's behavior, when they feed, when they sleep, you start to see patterns and you know better when to strike. I soon learned to recognize their tracks, the opening of their burrows, even their droppings. Where we usually caught enough to feed us for the day, but sometimes we had meat left over, so I would dry it out and keep it safe for the days when games were scarce. In no time at all, I got used to eating what was around. Long gone were the days of mom and dad packing my lunch, popping neatly sliced sandwiches into my school bag, along with an apple or tub of yogurt. Hunger taught me to become less picky and to plan ahead. I even grew to enjoying the taste of snake. We ate lizard, forest, forest rats, sometimes fish from the river, just about everything we could catch. One day I even brought down a crow with my sling, but I felt bad about it, so I never killed a bird again. I'd always liked birds, and even when the weather got colder and there weren't as many animals around, I would rest, recite rendering a nest for eggs, or using the sling on an owl or a hawk. Birds, I said to the dogs, are not for eating. They are left alone. If you say so, we are quite happy chomping on rats anyway. Although, as it turned out, not all birds were to be left alone. 13. Yeep, yeep. We had been venturing further and deeper into the forest on our search for food. We no longer needed to be back at the cars by nightfall, because I'd learned to pack enough supplies for us to sleep a night or two under the trees. This also allowed us to travel higher up the mountains. One day we had climbed higher than we ever had before. When Tiny's big ears pricked up, he hopped on a rock, looking alert, hearing something no one else could. I strained my own ears. I had been growing more attitude to the sound of the forest, and now heard rustles and faint squeaks I would never have noticed before. But this time I could not tell what had gotten his attention. He choked his head and gave a little woof. Follow me, you guys. We all chased after him as he took off uphill, and before too long I could hear what he was excited about. There was an yeep yeep noise coming from a large ledge above us, and as I looked up, I saw the edge of a huge bird nest. The dogs milled about at the top of the sheer rock face. What do we do now? It's an eagle's nest, guys. I think we should leave it alone. I scanned the sky all around us to see if I could spot an eagle. Nothing. For a moment I thought I saw a small aeroplane a very long way away heading north. But then it disappeared and the skies were empty once more. Guys, it's Mom and Dad. We'll probably come back soon. The dogs didn't budge. They just stared at me. We do not eat birds, remember? Abby walked up to me, pushed her nose into my hand, and whispered, So, you want me to have a look then? Papi wasn't asking me to go up there for food. She was telling me something was not right. From all my time spent with my new friends, I learned that dogs often knew things that weren't obvious to most human beings. They knew it was going to rain long before the first drops fell. They knew when I was happy, sad, tired, or angry, even when I tried to hide it from them. They had powerful canine senses that I was only just beginning to understand. Dad always told me to trust my instincts, and my instinct now was to trust the dogs. I examined the nest more carefully. There was something not quite right about its tethered edge. The ledge it lay on was about 10 meters up, almost a straight vertical climb, with very few handholds. Fortunately, my climbing had gotten pretty good. Day after day, I seemed up trees to pick berries or go after pythons and rats, while the dogs waited excitedly below. Okay, guys, I'm going up. The dogs wagged their tails excitedly as I made my way carefully up the straight rock face, sometimes with only the slightest instinct to hold on to. I just wish the dogs would shut up for once, because although I avoided looking down, their barks were a constant reminder of exactly how far off the ground I was. After what seemed like a long time, I finally made it to the top. I huddled myself over onto the rock ledge where the massive nest lay, then caught my breath before making my way over to look inside the nest. There, I found two baby eagles. One was dead, laying still on its side with its claws tucked up to its chest. The other was alive, just. It was as skinny as could be, its huge eyes popping out of its little head. I could clearly see shoulder bones under its spiky baby feathers. Hey, little one, I whispered. Yeep, yeep. You hungry? It was a silly question. The poor thing had obviously not eaten for a long time. Its siblings had probably died of starvation. Yeep, yeep. I reached into my backpack and pulled out some dried forest rat. I tore off a small piece and gave it to the little bird. It took the meat in its beak but couldn't swallow. Is it too tough for you? Of course it is. I remember a picture I'd seen in one of the animal books. It showed a mother bird feeding the baby bird by dropping food she had chewed herself into their mouths. I took back the bit of meat and put it into my own mouth. I chewed until it felt very soft, and then spat it into my hand. I picked out a tiny amount and carefully placed it into the baby eagle's mouth. Gulp! It swallowed the food easily and then opened its beak for more. You like it, huh? Yeep, yeep. I fed her a few more monstrels until she calmed down and stopped asking for more. Well, I can't leave you here all by yourself, can I? Wherever Mommy and Daddy Eagle were, it was obvious they weren't coming back. I usually leave birds alone. That's the rule. But if I leave you here, you'll probably die. I got some rope from my pack and tied it around a jagged piece of rock that looked sturdy. The journey back down would not be quite so scary. I shifted my backpack around to my front, wearing it across my chest like a baby sling. The eagle looked up at me with her big, gorgeous eyes. I slid my hand gently under her, scooping her up on a bunch of grass that was lining the nest. Then I placed her ever so gently into my backpack. Okay, Eagle, let's go home. I climbed down using the rope, being extremely careful not to squish the backpack with its precious new passenger. I held her close to my chest the whole way back, not letting any of the dogs get near her. Only Poppy seemed to know to keep her distance. The others kept jumping by my side, trying to get a look, but I gently nudged them away with my knees. In fact, I had to shout a few times to remind them that she wasn't food. Bruce kept lurking around with a hungry look in his eyes, but he'd learned the hard way that I could be meaner and angrier than him if I needed to, and he eventually got the message. The dog knew that I was their leader. I was the one providing our pack with the most of the food, and this baby bird was definitely not food. Quite the opposite. She was going to become a part of the family.